As you might have noticed, we have two very different presentations with very rich experiences. And what I'm going to try to attempt is actually to bring together, because I think there's a lot of overarching, very nice emerging topics that connect these two. But I'm going to start by asking Sylvia. Sylvia, is there something from Rebecca's presentation that stands out to you that you say, oh, yes, we apply that, but maybe in a different setting or context, and we recognize this in what we're doing in your daily let's say, ambitions to transform the food system. Please share your reflections.
Yeah, sure. So basically, I wanted to focus more on like the citizens and how, they're able to change the food systems. And I've seen some of the questions, that have come into the chat about, what have we done, working as citizens, being able to mainstream agroecology. And I can just give a very quick example of how during our last elections, which happened in 2022, we came together, a small group of about 20 farmers, and we really, just sat down together now in our small ward and thought through, what is going to be our priority in terms of the budgets in the county. We put it together, took part in, like our public participation, and we shared, like what we wanted to do, and eventually we were actually added to the 5-year plan with budgets. So basically, all our 5 propositions, that we put together were actually adopted in the county integrated development plan. So I just wanted to bring that out just to say that we're able to mainstream, just being able to come together, agreeing and taking part in the public participation for the government. And now we are mainstreaming agroecology in our ward. So that's what I wanted to share for now.
Great. Yeah, maybe I'm going to start off. First, we're going to have sort of a little bit follow-up conversation based on some of the topics that came forth from both of your presentations. I already see a lot of hands in the crowd, so please bear with me. What I still want to have sort of an overarching reflection, not so much looking into the specific details of your experiences, but more into some larger learning. And I'm trying to bring in some of the reflections that were on the learning platform as well, that people have been sharing, let's say, the past few days. So there's one reflection that many people are asking on the learning platform, but I've heard many experiences. This is there. What is the difference in possible impact or possible transformative impact that initiatives can have? And Sylvia's initiative started off, as you mentioned, Sylvia, with just you supplying to your direct consumers, but you've grown and it has become a small movement. Rebecca's presentation also talks about different types of initiatives at a very local scale, at a national scale, and also initiatives at a global scale that try to connect both the local and the national. So I'm very curious to hear your reflections in, what do you see as learnings? What is so valuable about both these small initiatives, but what is also valuable about these larger initiatives? And at the same time, what are the challenges that these different scales of initiatives would have? So I'd like to start with Rebecca. Maybe you can just briefly reflect and share some of your ideas on that question.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think as I mentioned towards the end, I mentioned that in some contexts, so these are context specifics, like talking about COP, we can't carry the entire nation to Dubai. So in some initiatives, like I mentioned, the talk should start from the grassroots. Someone said the real COP should start from stakeholder engagement, grassroots participation. They send their opinion. This is what is affecting our food system. In Africa or in Ghana, our food system is ABCD. So we give the voice or the word to the negotiator to negotiate on our behalf. And in some contexts, there is a need for the real voice to be present. Like I mentioned, in a household, sending one person to attend a workshop, and the person is a watermelon cultivator. Who cares about those cultivating tomato? And who cares about organic farmer? Sorry, Sylvia. But that's how it can, because it's human nature that when you sit and you are negotiating or taking decision, your interest comes first. So in some contexts, at local scale, I honestly believe that calling all people in the community to sit and decide on the right approach or decision making is relevant. In other cases, and in some cases, there could be a blend where we take information from the grassroots and then merge it with the information, like I did in the co-production of the weather information. So this could be applicable in other senses, not only the weather information, but in real life policy cases, other cases as well, it can be applicable. Yeah. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much for sharing your ideas. Rebecca, Sylvia, would you just briefly like to touch on that same question? What are
Yeah,
the
sure.
strengths of small and large initiatives, and what are the challenges that they bring along?
Okay, let me just bring about the challenges. Like one thing I actually brought about in my presentation is that, we don't have the right stakeholders, to be honest, at the decision table. So you find sometimes those who are coming up with policies, they'll visit our farms for 2-3 days and then think that they have enough data to actually go back and make a decision that is going to affect us for many years down the line. So I think one challenge is that, we really have to work with the right stakeholders all the way from the beginning to the very end and acknowledge, like Rebecca, she talks about the weather and acknowledge their inputs and be able to be patient to work with them, because otherwise, if we don't work with the right stakeholders from the beginning to end, we are not going to be able to bridge the gap between policy and practice.
Very nice. Thanks so much for sharing that. Maybe one last question for both of you to reflect on, and then we'll open up for everybody to share their questions. But I'm curious from your experiences, do you feel that it is possible to be deliberate about food system transformation? And what does it take to be deliberate? Does it just take setting yourself big ambitions towards the future, or does it take something else? What are your reflections on that? And I think I'm going to start on this occasion by asking Sylvia to share her reflections about that.
I think it's possible. The thing about it, when I started out my business, a quick example about, in 2016, I actually made a commitment because I started my farm in the village and I could see how women and young mothers wanted to feed their children good organic produce. And I told myself, when I start my business, I'm going to make it affordable. And everyone told me, no, 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 no. Organic is niche, it's for the rich. You'll never make it. You'll never make the margins. It will never work out. And, all these years we've had our business, we've actually made sure that our organic produce is affordable, because without affordability, it won't be accessible. And I believe, that few people, people who, believe in, the same cause, small things here and there, it actually comes up. And, like in Kiswahili, we say, haba na haba hujaza kibaba, small, small, small. When it's brought together, it's actually able to give a big impact. So I think it is possible. We have to be deliberate, and sometimes we have to be the ones to actually go and clear the land. We have to be the forerunners who have to go out there, but it's possible.
Thanks so much. Very nice. Rebecca, what are your thoughts on this?
I share the same. I agree with Sylvia that it's possible. Yes, indeed, it's complex, and as people say, the food system is dealing with the challenges in the food system is a wicked problem. But I believe also in using adaptive strategies, learning, using iterative learning. Today, what would we do? Being reflective as a group together, being reflective as members of the value chain, being reflective as a group working on a project, maybe in the department, working with both stakeholders, be honest with the people in the farm. Maybe if you are implementing an initiative about seed or cowpea, be honest with the farmers. What do you think about this? I think I participated briefly in presentation where the farmers was able to tell the scientists, look, we think this is good, but if we try this can help. So yeah, learning from each other. And I agree, small wins result in a big win. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think these are very inspiring words. Small wins can result in a big win. And I think that's also appreciation to the participants here who are mentioning that most of them are working on changing mindsets. And I think these are these small wins that are going to have a huge impact if we're able to change different mindsets of different stakeholders. And something I also take from your reflections just now is I think you say, food system transformation, we have to be deliberate. We have to check if we're always on gear towards our aspired outcomes. And if there's still our aspired outcomes after 2 years, they might change also our aspirations. But what you're both saying and your examples are saying, in the process, we have to make the process deliberate, and we can use a lot of different ideas, concepts, principles to make the transformation process deliberate, and then looking through iteratively if we're actually reaching our goals. Great. I'd like to take this moment to actually open up the dialogue and the conversation. I've seen perhaps 100, if not more, questions passing by in the chat. I'm not sure if I have very clear on which is the most relevant question. So I'm actually going to go by another method, and I'm going to go for those of you who have your hands up for some time already. So let me invite Susanna, if you'd like to unmute and ask your question either to Rebecca or to Sylvia. Susanna, please.
Thank you, Herman. I hope you can hear me. All right. Great presentation from Rebecca and Sylvia. In fact, it's been very insightful. And I congratulate you on the work you are doing. I would like to pose a question to Sylvia. I mean, you presented it to look so much beautiful and rosy. You didn't give us some of the detailed struggles you went through. But then I know you have all those things there for our learning purposes. I would want to find out in terms of partnerships, do you go all out on your own, or you have over time come up with some partnership, maybe some logistic companies or other things? And then I also want to find out how you have been able to deal with the negative press, or when it comes to organic, there is a lot of negative press, and then people arguing that it is not organic, as we say. Because I know you work with certification and all of those things. Have you encountered any of those things? And then how do you ensure that the other farmers you source from are certified? That is, if they are, or whether you even monitor their work on the farm yourself, or you have other people who do that for you. So that is my question to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Susanna. And I'm going to try and answer your question well. So basically, how we work in the organic system is that, we actually have, we work with smallholder farmers mainly, but I'm not able to do all this work on my own, of course, and I work with different partners. So I work with the National Organic Movement in Kenya, which is known as Kenya Organic Agriculture Network, that actually supports to do a lot of training and making sure that the farmers are actually complying with organic standards. And how we do it is that we have a group certification. You can read about it like in your free time. It's called Participatory Guarantee Systems, whereby farmers go through training on organic, for about 1 or 2 years. And then after that, they get group certification, which makes it much cheaper and more accessible for them to actually look for markets as a group. In terms of the negative rap we get, that's normal with everything that you do. But then the thing about it is, we know we are doing the right thing. We are genuine. We put in our systems. As I say, they work with different organizations, not only COAN. We have Pelham Network. We have Vision Africa Trust, who are different organizations that work with us. In terms of logistics, we also work with an organization known as Wells Fargo. It's a logistics and security company in Kenya, whereby they have stations all over the country. And, without a partner like Wells Fargo, I'll not be able to manage with the farmers, because one of the greatest impediments of farmers being able to access markets is logistics. They're not able to get transportation from the village, to the cities. And Wells Fargo has got more than 100 branches all over Kenya. Sylvia's Basket pays for that transportation. And we normally put a small markup on the item so that farmers can actually be able to access markets. So we've done that, and it's working quite well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for the nice question and the great response, Sylvia. I'm going to ask Mary if you would like to unmute and ask your question, Mary.
Okay, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Very interesting discussion so far. I tried to put my question on the chat already because I didn't know whether we will have time. Yeah, very interesting information there from Ghana. In my own opinion, we really do have two systems. The traditional systems in Africa, for example, from where I come from, Africa, so I know it. We have real solid systems that before the advent of the colonial era catered for all the food security, social protection, and everything. As the example from Ghana showed, the hierarchy in the family, you are an elderly person or a junior person, you are a nursing mother that needs to be taken care of. These things were all there. During the colonial system time, these systems sort of were truncated. Their manner of transfer and research and learning from each other were also truncated. Now, going forward, with the issues we are having with food systems transformation, my suggestion is that as researchers that we are, the first thing we should do, we should be unbiased. Because the first post that we saw, the food systems were classified into 4. And there was an allusion that the Kenyan food systems is be transiting as if it is going to be transformed, as if the food systems that are transformed should be what is coming from the global north. I think we are missing a lot if we think like that. So my suggestion going forward, as researchers that we are, is that we look at all food systems, analyze what is wrong and what is good in each food system, and try to see whether some food systems like the traditional systems in Africa, which are very, very holistic, I know it, but not backed by any research, should begin to receive the attention to see what we can improve in those systems. Because as the presentation came from Ghana, although that last born in the family cannot speak when the elder brothers are there, there is provision somehow to take care of him also. For example, this elder brother becomes like a father. It becomes like the junior one becomes like his responsibility. So if you study the whole system, you know it compensates. Even if you don't speak, there is a way to compensate. So studying those systems holistically will give us the ability to zoom into what is not good, but not to throw everything all together. And if I can say something here, is that all food systems can work if we can remove the greed that is in human beings. So that issue of mindset transformation, I don't know how it would take place. If we take out the greed that, then we can move forward a little bit better. Thank you so much for all the, over.
Thank you so much. I think you shared a very valid point of view. I didn't really hear a question either for Rebecca or Sylvia. So thanks for sharing that very nice point of view. I think it's in line with what has been mentioned. I'm going to take a couple of more questions from the crowd. And I know that there has been people with their hands up for a bit longer than others. I don't have a full overview, but just to have the diversity in here, I'm going to ask Charles. Charles, would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, now, good evening, everyone. I wanted to ask Sylvia a simple question regarding the market system in Kenya, because now I understand she's from Kenya, as I do. How has she managed to maybe to overcome the issues of brokers in the market, whereby you can take your produce to the market, but then you will not be able to sell because there are people called maybe who sells in that market system. Just as a short question like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles, for that question. Basically, what we've been able to do is that, for us, we are strictly, from the farm to the fork, we, as of the brokers, what actually inspired me to actually open my own outlet. And now we have an aggregation center, is that I just got tired of being taken advantage of by the middlemen. And the main thing that we have done, Charles, is to actually have a logistics partner. Because we already mentioned that farmers are actually struggling to get their produce to the market. And you see, the brokers actually have access to transportation, and they also have access to market intelligence. So what we have done is that, we have a group of farmers, we put them in a group, we communicate with them every single week, we let them know about the prices, we let them know about what the market needs are. And that's why I mentioned we're also coming up with a market curriculum whereby farmers will actually have all this at their fingertips, whereby they will not be lied to by anybody. They'll know the prices, what to plant, and where to market. So the two things we've done is that, one, we're in constant communication with our farmers, and two, we've been able to provide them with proper logistics. Then we have been able to then cut out the broker, and the farmer just sends the things to Wells Fargo, who is our logistics partner, and Wells Fargo delivers it directly to our aggregation center, and from the center, it goes to the market. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Charles. So I see a question coming into the chat, which I think is very interesting, and it also has a little bit of my personal interest. So I'm going to, in representation of Simene that asked that question, I'm going to add a little part to it. So Simene says, how can we integrate indigenous knowledge and scientific knowledge to ensure food system transformation? I think this touches very clearly on your presentation, Rebecca. And you mentioned in your presentation some of the approaches that you have taken to try to integrate these two different knowledge systems, if you'd like. But perhaps just to add on to this question is, have you encountered issues around power when you're trying to integrate these two knowledge systems, where either the one or the other one feels that their knowledge system is much more rigorous and has a whole scientific methodology? Do you encounter these type of things, and how do you deal with that type of power issues when you're combining these different knowledge systems?
Thank you very much. Yeah, indeed, there was. I was surprised. I thought I come in with the scientific satellite data, I should look like the superwoman in the villages. But then instead, I found that there was I also saw it as a game, and it's enhanced learning. So not really like a competition, but they wanted to prove to me that local knowledge is authentic. And for example, when they started talking about this cloud that forms from the east, talking about Togo side, when they see the clouds from the Togo side coming to Ghana, it means it will rain. And then they told me, go home, it's coming to rain. As soon as I go home, it started raining. They gave me a call. Do you see? We told you. We told you. So it's like, I saw it wasn't really like a powerful, of course, we know we have dimensions of power, but it was to prove to me that, look, our knowledge is authentic. But with time, they also learn from us that the systems or the environmental systems will change. So the clouds can form, but something that is atmospheric system can change and the clouds will dissipate. So you saw your observation, right? But later on, there was a wind from the sea which dissipated the clouds, the rain forming clouds. So it disrupted the entire physical environmental system that would lead to the rain formation. So yeah, we learn from each other. But just to touch on the colleague's question, there was issues about community grouping, participatory talking. We talk about to each other, like for example, probability. How do you want us to communicate probability? They said we use Alafa, means 100 percentages. And so we use colors. Let's use this color, and digital technology coming from our side to pick these oral stories into a digital tool. So these are some of the ways that we integrated. And of course, we use statistical method to integrate both knowledge system. And as you can see, I also display the pie chart system. So I have your information, which I put nicely on a pie chart, and this is my information from GMET. So it's up to you. So it's more like showing you these are two sides. You choose one, or you learn to integrate both mentally. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for that very insightful response. So we're almost going to round off this session, and unfortunately, we don't have sufficient time to answer all of your questions and all of your hands. You have contact details both for Sylvia and Rebecca, so please, if you have something urgent or want to connect with them, please feel free to reach out to them. But I actually want to start rounding up, and I'm going to ask you both perhaps to speak 1 or 2 minutes about a question I'm going to ask you. And I think that's the overarching question which sort of binds this module on food system transformation. So the question is, what elements, what components make food system transformation really transformative? And perhaps you could touch on that. I know it's a big question. You can go and shoot in all directions, but I'm going to ask you both to sort of respond to that in 1 minute. What makes food system transformation really transformative as to something that is actually just tweaking little parts and making things more efficient, but not transforming the food system? Sylvia, would you like to start us off?
Okay, so as a farmer, I'm very biased to say that what makes it transformative is the farmers. So the farmers are the foundation of our food systems. And I think the challenge I have for us out here is that you may not be able to know where all your food comes from. You may not be able to know where the farmers are. But if you have any link to a farmer, you know, how we're going to transform this is that if you're able to go to a farmer's market, if you're able to go anywhere where you know a farmer, those people in Nairobi, you know me now, please come buy from us. And not just us, but also other farmers you're working with. But basically, buy from farmers as much as possible. If you can be able to get as close as possible to the farmers and shorten the distance between the farm and the plate, you're actually going to be able to transform our food systems in a major way. Thank you.
Great, very practical suggestion that we can all take along with us in our daily practices from Sylvia. Thanks so much for that. Rebecca, what are your thoughts on this one?
Okay, coming from a policy perspective, to point at one, I would say no. I would say all stakeholders. And in my opinion, I do not underestimate any of the actors. I saw Brown displaying some people ranking. I must be honest to say, those stakeholders that we do not even think about or even mention, they rather drive the food system. They drive it in the way they want to. So let's be vigilant and let's observe the invisible. When I say invisible, they are very silent, they are more distant, but they are the investors, they are the innovators, they are the actors who may probably be the ones driving the prices on the farm and so on. Thank you.
Thanks so much also for you, Rebecca, for a very informative response. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you both. I think you have inspired us all, and we all leave this session with new ideas, new ambitions, and eager to try some of your experiences out in our daily work. Thank you so much. We'll be sharing your presentations on the learning platform with everybody so that they can also reach out to you if there's something that they'd like to follow up. Once again, thanks everybody as well in the participants. You've asked wonderful questions and we're a great crowd. We're closing off for today. Thanks so much and good luck with the rest of the course.